Hello everyone and welcome to this pick a card reading video. In this video you will get to see basically just which character you're most like, which TV character specifically in a series. And each stack has 6 tarot cards and 1 oracle card from the Mythic Oracle deck. And for that it will just provide extra context and hints at the kind of personality not only your character has, but obviously that you have. Here is stack 1A, stack 2B, stack 3C. You can pause if you like and if you need some more time to figure out which deck you're most drawn to. If you are not drawn to any of the decks, that's completely fine. This just might not be the reading for you. I have plenty of other timeless pick a card reading videos all throughout my YouTube channel. And as a reminder, everything I talk about and discuss in this video is for entertainment purposes only and cannot be stated as fact. Alright, let's get into it. Hello 1A and welcome to your part of the pick a card reading video. I'm very excited for this group because y'all are the witchy ones. This is really interesting because when I came up with this concept, Wednesday Addams is one of the characters that popped into my mind. So did Rory Gilmore, but Rory actually didn't even make it in this video. None of the Gilmore Girl characters did. So Rory did first, but then immediately after that, Wednesday Addams did. I'm like, so I wonder if I'll pick up on her. And I did right away. As soon as the High Priestess in reverse came flying out, I'm like, yeah, pretty sure this is gonna probably be about her, and lo and behold, it pretty much is. So Wednesday Addams herself, I made sure to look this up. I don't know much about the lore of Wednesday Addams or the Addams family. I didn't grow up watching it, but I did watch the Wednesday Addams that Jenna Ortega played in the newest series adaptation, Wednesday. And so they are not actually witches or vampires or anything like that. She goes to a school that I don't remember what the school is called, but I don't know if it's that they practice magic still. I have really bad memory. And here's what I want to say too. With shows nowadays, when you power through them, at least for me, I never really remember much of the plot. So I wish things got released episode by episode again. But maybe that's just me. Anyway, she does go to a school that's not a normal school. It's kind of whimsical in nature, right? I don't remember if they practice magic or not. But she herself is not a witch. But I think of her as being very witchy. And her, I don't know if it's on both sides or mainly just through her mother's side. But I know that for sure on the mother's side, they come through a line of witches. And that's how the curse ended up happening, or this whole feud ended up happening because of her great-grandma, I believe, who was a witch who casted a curse on somebody. And there's a lot of paranormal happenings that happen around Wednesday. So, with saying all of that, some of you maybe are witches yourself, or you practice some sort of magic. Even just watching this video is pretty mystical, if you ask me. Pretty, I don't want to say underground, but it's very much involved with the dark and the mysterious compared to normal society. So when I think of Wednesday Addams, and especially the version that Jenna Ortega plays, I think of somebody who is... I didn't want to say. So I pulled the cards first, including the Oracle card, and then I pulled Wednesday. Well, I didn't pull Wednesday. I attached her to this stack because I thought that everything on the cards makes sense for who she is. So I'll describe how Wednesday is to me in my eyes and tie that in with the cards that I chose. I mean, Hades' the underworld pretty much makes sense. She's not deceased. She doesn't control dead people, but I guess there is that one hand that you could argue is living, dead, or somewhere in between that hangs around her and the family. I don't know if it's considered alive, that hand. It's like a hand of one of her ancestors or something, right? Anyway. The High Priestess in reverse especially ties in greatly with Hades as well, but it ties in with Wednesday, because the High Priestess, which is honestly my favorite card, relates to mysticism, it relates to spirituality, it relates to intuition, a higher power, and even some people connect the divine feminine to the High Priestess as well. When I think of High Priestess too, it reminds me of the Oracle at Delphi, everybody says it differently, but the Oracle for Apollo, and I think other gods maybe as well. But with the High Priestess being in reverse, that can sometimes indicate dark magic of some kind. It can sometimes also, I mean, in certain instances, it can indicate not trusting your intuition, but I guess that also can relate to Wednesday, because she went against her intuition. So I could say that some of you go against your intuition. Before I actually go further into personality stuff, I'll just say the cards out loud. So the High Priestess reverse, the Knave / Page of Coins upright, the Eight of Cups in reverse, the Ace of Cups in reverse, Eight of Cups, Ace of Cups, yes, both in reverse, Justice card in reverse, and the Fool in reverse. So I think that the High Priestess really relates to Wednesday Addams, because she is somebody who, even though she's not a witch, which is what I was trying to tie in with what I was saying earlier, even though she's not a witch, her and people in her family are very much involved in the dark and the mysterious and magical happenings. And that includes her not even going to a quote-unquote normal school, and how her parents didn't go to a normal school. They went to this school that Wednesday is now at. And, I mean, again, even that magic hand hanging around them. So even if she's not herself classifying herself as a witch, she herself is willing. She has qualities that are similar to that of a witch. And she is not somebody who I think would be afraid to practice black magic. I would argue she probably, in some capacity, did that during the series. Again, I'm sorry, I have really bad memory. But also with her having to deal with this curse that was placed upon a student that her grandmother placed upon I believe it was another student, and her having to basically figure out what this is, and in a way, I guess, trying to break it. So she's very much involved in the mystical realm, even if she herself wouldn't classify herself as a witch, even though I think she wouldn't be against it or opposed to it. So then we move on to the Page of Coins upright. With the Page of Coins upright, the first word that comes to mind when I was saying that out loud was confidence. I think that Wednesday exudes a sort of confidence in which it's like she, also kind of a bit of stubbornness, I should say, where she feels like she's always correct, and if she's not, she'll do the research and then get back to you like the next day, and she'll be like, this is actually what I feel and believe now, even if it's true to what you said. Now I have the information, and I have these smarticles to be able to progress forward with any arguments that I have in this area of expertise. Do you know what I'm saying? So also when I think of Page of Coins too, I do think of somebody who can be smart and studious, somebody who can stay on task. She is the type of person who, if she wants to focus on something, she will focus specifically on that. So if she's focusing on trying to figure out, also, of course, she gives off very big Scorpio energy. So some of you, even Hades Underworld, I mean, major Scorpio energy. But with the Page of Coins upright, that actually is a card that also, just in general, reminds me, in many instances, of Scorpio energy. Because when somebody like Wednesday or a Scorpio has something in mind, they will research, and they will continue to plan their attack. Wednesday continues to try to unearth these different mysteries that are happening at the school and amongst the students and just around the area. She's very perceptive as well, and I think the Page of Coins is a card that indicates to me being very perceptive. We have the Eight of Cups in reverse, and this card generally is thought of as a card that means somebody going back and forth. And I think this really relates to Wednesday, because at least what we see in the most recent adaptation of Wednesday, played by Jenna Ortega, is that she's going back and forth trying to decide who the bad guy is, or who this bad group of people are. She's trying to figure out who she can trust. She keeps going back and forth on just the people she wants to have in her inner circle, which usually isn't very many people. But even more than that, again, just trying to pinpoint who the bad people are around the school. And she wants to very carefully plan, that paired with the Page of Coins, carefully planning around who is good and who is bad. And with the High Priestess too, it's in reverse, but I want to say I think she actually is a very intuitive person, but I think she kind of goes against it when Page of Coins, she doesn't find when she doesn't find enough evidence to back up her claims or her thoughts. So I feel like she's very intuitive in who she can and cannot trust, but then it gets blocked off by her logic. While she is very intuitive, I think logic also plays a big factor in her as well. I think a lot of you could be like that, but I'll get more into how this even more specifically relates to when I summarize things at the end of talking about these cards. We have the Ace of Cups in reverse, which you could say relates to that lack of intuition that she sometimes experiences when her logic gets in the way. But with the Ace of Cups in reverse too, it makes me think of her always being very stone-faced. Like, she didn't even blink once throughout the show. Apparently, anytime she blinked on camera, they would restart the scene. So, even this picture that's being shown here, I just keep seeing and visualizing that, where she's somebody who is very much able to be stone-faced, and she's able to hold onto or hold back with her emotions. She isn't going to tell you what she's thinking or feeling. She knows what she's feeling, and she's going to process that in a way where she doesn't become overly emotional, because she does have a lot of logic within her again as well. So the Ace of Cups in reverse tells me that she keeps her cards close to her chest. She is not very vulnerable, and we see that when she does show any amount of vulnerability in the show, it kind of bites her in the booty. We have the Justice card in reverse, and I think too, with this card, she very much wants to expose the truth. She very much wants to figure out who's right and who's wrong in the show. And like I was just saying with the Ace of Cups in reverse, that kind of bites her in the butt. Also because it prevents her from seeing the people who, like for example, her roommate, I don't remember her name, but she doesn't get along with her kinda at first because she just thinks she's very high energy, preppy, kind. She's the opposite energy of Wednesday. And so with Justice in reverse, I think she's so guarded and protective of herself and her space that it can kind of prevent her from making the correct connections in the series. So the people who she should trust the whole time, it takes her a while to get around to trusting those people. And then when people like Wednesday are so after the truth, you kind of abandon your own personhood in a way. But also it can lead you down, if you're just so like stuck on different ideas that you have, you could be led astray for who you can trust, or thinking that this is the situation or that's the situation. And so then obviously it took until the very end of the series for her to realize who actually were the bad people. And I think she's a very judgmental person too. And I think, if I remember correctly, I don't know why I always forget, but I think Justice, I'm pretty sure, represents Libra in tarot. And I think she also gives me very much Libra vibes. She could have a Libra moon like me, or Libra sun, and she's a Scorpio ascendant or something, right? But she's just so after seeking justice that it just kind of bites her in the booty. Is there anything more specific? I was gonna say something more specific about that, but it's kind of going away from me, so I'll just leave it for now. And then we have the Fool in reverse, which I think just ties in, especially with the other two bottom cards that I was talking about, where she easily gets led astray. She's a very stubborn person. A lot of this reading too is about being very stubborn and thinking that you know what's correct. And that's too where I want to bring in the logic versus intuition, where logically she feels like she's so correct that maybe that blocks her intuition from fully being displayed and coming into full force. But with the Fool in reverse too, we see in the series, for example, that there's a lot of new beginning she's having to experience, and we see the difficulties that come along with that. So she is somebody who I don't think likes change, and she's somebody who is very stubborn in her own ways. So generally speaking, I think the kind of person you are relates to Wednesday Addams, mainly because of, I think you may struggle with, I think you're a very witchy person, but I think sometimes your logic gets in the way and you deny your intuition because of the cold hard facts that are presented in front of you. I think you are somebody who probably has difficulty trusting people, and I think that you are somebody who likely keeps your cards very close to your chest, and I think you are somebody who, especially with being very individualistic, and with the Fool in reverse, I think of that too. I mean, really a lot of these cards, I see you being very individualistic. So when you do have to assimilate with other people, that can be very difficult for you. And again, it can be very hard to trust people, and it can be hard to let your guard down. As well as when you do let your guard down, it's probably not necessarily with the right people. So I will go into the guidebook now. I will read what it says for Hades. It says, Hades, the underworld. Hades is the son of Rhea and Cronus. He rules the underworld, the land of the dead. In Greek mythology, the underworld is a vast, complex, and well-guarded landscape. Poets describe it as having many different areas that make up its totality, including Tartarus, an equivalent to hell, the Elysian fields, reserved for virtuous and heroic souls, similar to heaven, and the asphodel meadows, where the indifferent and ordinary souls dwell. Countless versions of the hero's journey unfold in the underworld. In many myths, the hero takes a trip through the underworld to perform a rescue, take a sacred item, reunite with loved ones, uncover treasures, or resurrect the dead. That's like very tied in, I believe, with Wednesday, if you know anything about Wednesday. I think, too, you're one of those people who, even though you don't express maybe your emotions outwardly very much, I think you do care about people. Not many people, but the people you care about them so much, you will literally do absolutely anything for them. Even more than you would do for yourself. There's like a sense of, like it was saying in here, wanting to kind of be a hero for people and to help save people from danger in any way. There's something else earlier that it was saying that I was going to bring up earlier, but I forgot. Poets describe it as having many different areas that make up its totality. Oh, I just wanted to say that, I think a lot of you too, I think I said this, but just to make sure, a lot of you could practice very much witchy things, rituals, spell work, all of that, or you could be interested in it. A lot of you probably love true crime, serial killer documentaries, docuseries. You probably love fantasy novels. I don't know about that. Maybe it could be, but I'll stick mainly to true crime. You could be very much an investigative person, and so you could love mystery novels as well. Okay, the message. Shadows live in the underworld. All things hidden or lost hide in this realm. One of the most powerful and usually hidden feelings all humans harbor is fear, and this subconscious fear often rules our lives. By journeying into the underworld, we can uncover the subconscious drives that rule our lives and bring them into the light so that we can transform them. The treasures we can gain through this through this process are innumerable, but one of the greatest is self-empowerment. This is a time for you to be honest with yourself. What is motivating you at this time? Are you living the true essence of your being, or are you tricking yourself out of a full life? Sometimes dispelling your illusions and facing your real motivations is horrifying, but by doing so, you reclaim your true power and freedom. The appearance of this card in your spread indicates that you may have been lying to yourself about something, and it is now time to face yourself honestly. Change is necessary at this time, even though I know a lot of you probably don't like change, and going through the underworld will liberate you from your self-imposed chains. So I will leave it at that. Thank you so much, 1A, for watching and listening to this video. You can like this video if you liked it. You can subscribe to my channel. It helps me out a lot. And you can check out my other pick a card reading videos all throughout my channel. A lot of them are timeless. If you'd like to, you can comment down below if you chose this stack and if you've seen the most recent series with Wednesday and it being played by Jenna Ortega. You can let me know if it resonates with you at all. But thank you so much again, and take care. Hello 2B, and welcome to your part of the pick a card reading video. So bear with me, I haven't actually seen this show in quite some time, and I don't remember many of the pieces of the show, but I know that many people have seen the show, and if you haven't seen the show, then I'll still obviously provide you context with how you relate to this character. But for those of you who do not know, this person is Kimmy Schmidt from the television series Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, or The Unbreakable, I think it's just Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. And it's really interesting, I have to point out that the sun and the moon are here. I will get to the guidebook for the Achilles Oracle card later, but all of the cards for tarot are the sun upright, the Four of Pentacles in reverse, the Ace of Swords upright, the moon upright, the Six of Swords upright, and the Queen of Wands upright. So for those of you who do not know about this show, obviously what I relate, like the characteristics I relate to her through the tarot cards, and just from what I know about her as well, you'll understand how it relates to you. I did pull the cards first, and then I thought of the kind of person that Kimmy is, and so I related or connected her to this reading. So with the sun, I do have to say, Kimmy Schmidt is, well, for those of you who don't know, I'll provide a little bit of backstory. So she was, I think it was in Pennsylvania, it could have been somewhere else, like maybe in New York, I don't know, or just along the East Coast. Maybe it was in Utah, I don't know. I don't remember where she grew up, but I remember that she was kidnapped and placed within an underground, like, tunnel, cave type situation with some other woman, and she was in a cult, but she could not escape. Eventually, she was found amongst everybody else that was kept there, all the other women. And we see her in the series having to navigate life after having been a part of this cult. And she lives in New York City, and she wears very bright colors. And she is somebody who, in my opinion, even though she's been through a lot, she is a very optimistic person and a very, again, bright and colorful person. She isn't afraid to try and befriend others. So she even tries to befriend people who seem to not like her, or even if she feels people don't like her, then she maybe will try a little bit harder to get people to like her and see her for who she is. And she's just a very positive, happy person. But with the moon that we have here, I do have to say that represents the issues from her past, the traumas, you could say, that have popped up. So even though she presents as somebody who's a very happy-go-lucky person, there's obviously things that affect her personality and affect how she goes about things after having experienced these very awful and horrific things. So we don't really see often her being sad or upset, and she's very much a people-pleasing type person as well. So we see that any negative emotions she kind of tucks away, and she tries to not have those be expressed outwardly and for other people to pick up on them. She doesn't want people to feel bad. She always wants people to feel really happy when she's around, and she can be overbearing with her positivity. Like, you could definitely say she's a toxic positivity type person, but again, I think I mentioned this earlier, she's very optimistic, but more so overly optimistic, where she expects things to work out in her favor even if there's nothing backing up her as a person. Like, I think if I remember correctly, she applied for a job and she ended up getting it. She was very positive and happy and thought she would get it, even though she had absolutely no experience. I think it was when she was nannying this lady's kids, if I remember correctly. I could be a little bit wrong, sorry if I am. Quite a bit of people have seen that show. I think is it still on Netflix? Or maybe it actually, I think, got taken off not that long ago, but the show ran from 2015 to 2019, if I remember correctly when I looked it up. So there's some seasons on there. I did not watch the final 1 or 2 seasons. But anywho, so with the sun too, even with those two, I don't even know, let me look. I don't know if those are children or not. To me, they kind of look like children. So with the sun too, I think of innocence. And so she's around children that she nannies, but she's also herself a very childlike person because she was not able to fully express herself and go through different youthful experiences when she was younger because of her having been kidnapped for many years. So you kind of see that in how she dresses and how she tackles life, where she doesn't think about consequences very much. She just, I think, subconsciously thinks things will work out in my favor because they have to and because I want them to, kind of thing. And because, well, the bad thing can't happen, I'll just try really hard. Also, because of the things she experienced in her past, I think she is somebody who doesn't want to just let life pass her by because so many of her years were pretty much taken from her. So with the Four of Coins or the Four of Pentacles in reverse, that also ties in, I believe, with the moon and just with her experiences, because she's somebody who didn't have anything. She was not even her own person. She couldn't do anything that she wanted to do when she was a part of this cult. And, like, she could not escape. She couldn't go anywhere. And because of that, paired next to the Ace of Swords, it really, again, gives her this zest for life. It makes her want to go after things. It makes her also want to connect. When we think of Ace of Swords, we can also think of connections with other people. Communication, right? We can think of how she really wants to just connect with so many different kinds of people, all different walks of life. And she just wants to really experience the world. Even the bad, but especially the good. And she wants to make the best of it, even if it isn't so good. So even though experiences have been taken from her and she hasn't, been able to fully be herself, she now wants to be able to do that. We have the Queen of Wands too, and the Six of Swords, and both of those cards are upright. The Six of Cards is all about change and especially transitions. And so literally in the show, we see her transition from not being able to do anything, not being able to have any of her own opinions, not being able to dress in the way she wants, because she had to wear these, like, old-timey, I would say Amish-inspired clothing, that kind of clothing, or just, like, 1600s clothing, it looks like. And because of having to go through that, she's now having to transition into this new way of life where there's so much hustle and bustle, where there was only like a few other women, I want to say, in this cult. And it was underground. And then she transitions into this lifestyle where she's thrown almost to the wolves, but she takes it like a champ. She tries to make the most of her life and of these experiences that she could have. And so from absolutely not being able to do anything to the hustle and bustle of the most populated, I believe, city in the United States, where there's so much going on, and there is so much bad happening, in the world, but there's so much, when there's more people, I think it's easier to point out bad things happening, and I'm not just talking about crime or anything, but you see humanity for all that it is, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And she encounters that through the show, but she goes through so many changes to try to, I want to say, reclaim her power. And with the Queen of Wands too, that relates to her social ability, and that's how she's able to make these friends and these connections, even on a more, I guess you could say, professional level. She's very good with her words, and I think that's because she had to be very calculated with her words previously. So now I don't think she's necessarily calculated with her words in a negative way, but I think she again wants to try to make the best impression, and I think she's very people-pleasing. And so that ties in with her sociability, where she's able to make these connections, and I don't think it comes from a negative or even insincere place, but it can be very, I think, draining on a person, even if she doesn't outwardly express that, to have to always be positive or to always look at the bright side, because when life is maybe constantly or consistently knocking you down or throwing you curveballs, how are you able to stay afloat if all you rely on is your positive nature? But again, Queen of Wands upright, so she's able to get along really well with people, even, random people who are so opposite from her. And that's part of her charm. I will say she's a very charming person, but she can also not be for certain people. But I personally think it's very easy for her to be likable to people in the series, because even her roommate, Titus is his real name, right? In real life, or is that his name in the show, or both? I think Titus is his name in the character's name in real life. But her roommate in New York City in the apartment is somebody that they have their back and forth, every now and again, but it's mainly because of how overly positive she is, right? He's a very opposite person. I think he's a lot more likely to be considered maybe nihilistic or just kind of negative thinking in nature. But she's the opposite. And so they clash at times, but even when those things happen, she is the type of person to try to mend any relationships or mend any fights and even prevent them altogether. So if I were to say, before I move on to the Oracle card guidebook, overall, I would say you're probably the kind of person who is very positive and overly optimistic, and it can be to your detriment. I see being very people-pleasing and somebody who could be very even extroverted or present as extroverted, and somebody who's very sociable, able to get along well with people very easily. But I think you maybe suppress your emotions that are negative in nature a bit, and that can be very draining even if other people cannot tell. I think you've probably been through some real struggles in life, and you are trying to make the most and the best of your life now from the present moving forward. I think it could be very difficult for you to think about the past as well. I don't think she really addresses her past very much in the series. So you could be somebody who doesn't like talking about or thinking about the past, reliving old memories. I think you're the type of person who just wants to move forward and move on and not be dragged behind into the past. So let's go into the Oracle deck now. We have Achilles, number 38, right there. So it says Achilles' glory. The myth. Achilles, an extremely complex hero, was the son of the sea nymph Thetis and King Peleus. He was a central figure in the Trojan War, wearing armor crafted by the god I always say this wrong, I don't know how to say it, Hephaestus. The Greeks could not have won the Trojan War without Achilles. He was without a doubt the greatest warrior of his time, yet he was also deeply affected by his humanity, yes. He was capable of great love, grief, pride, and an anger that rivaled that of the gods themselves. And I want to say too, Kimmy's the type of person to really just never give up. Never give up. Even if it's because you don't really have an option other than to keep going forward, you never give up. When Thetis told him that he could either live a long and comfortable life or go to Troy and die with glory, he chose to fight. Despite his skill as a warrior, he was slain. Paris, known as a coward in battle, shot Achilles with an arrow through his heel, the only vulnerable part of his body. I think a lot of you... I know it said that living a long and comfortable life versus going to war. I think you're the kind of person who wants to have happy, memorable experiences, but if you feel like it's in your best interest to, or for other people's best interest for you to do something, I think you're definitely the type of person to do that, especially, again, I must mention the people-pleasing qualities. The message. Achilles and also, if you've been through crap in your past, it's like you don't want those things to happen again, so you'll be willing to fight for your freedom type of vibe. The message. Achilles accepted his vulnerability, as it is better to die for what you believe in and what you love than to live comfortably without love or courage. Achilles represents our desire for glory and immortality and the complexity and grief that we find during our search. He accepted the inevitable and yet strove for meaning and purpose. This is the fundamental link that binds all humankind. Yes, I think some of you could be dealing with trying to find purpose now as well. If you've drawn this card today, you may be feeling, and you may be a very curious person as well. If you've drawn this card today, you may be feeling a call to glory, to devote yourself to a higher cause. This is a time to remember that the greatest warrior has the greatest heart. In order to accomplish great things, you must be able to connect to your vulnerability, to reveal something deeper in your nature, to reveal what makes you human. Your vulnerability will connect you to all of humankind and bring power to what you achieve. This is a time to live and breathe the passion that exists within you, for this love and passion will lead you to ultimate glory. And I think a lot of you have a lot of love and passion, but I will say again, like I was saying earlier, you may struggle with your emotions. Journaling, I recommend that, of course, but talking to a therapist. I think really dissecting the things that have shaped you in the past /present will help you actually with the passions that you do have moving forward, and it will help you to open up and connect even more to other people. But I will leave it at that. Thank you so much, 2B, for watching and listening to this video. Hope you enjoyed it. You can like the video if you like down below. You can subscribe to my channel if you would like, and you can check out the other videos that I have listed. I have many pick-a-card readings that are timeless. You can also comment down below if you resonate with this character at all, if what I was saying at all resonated with you, and if you have seen this series. But again, thank you so much and take care. Hello 3C, and welcome to your part of the pick-a-card reading video. So, right off the bat, I do have to say, okay, so what I did is I pulled the tarot cards and then the oracle card, and then I decided who would be the character that actually matched what I was sensing and seeing for the spread. And for those of you who do not know, this is Effie Stoneham from Skins, and it said online she's specifically from the UK version, so I didn't know that there are different versions of the show. But for me saying that, you might not have guessed, but I actually have not seen this series. I've heard of it, of course, and I've heard many things about it. Seems like a very trauma-filled series, but I've actually never seen it. The other two stacks, I have seen those series. I actually haven't seen many shows throughout my time, but the energy that I was sensing specifically from this stack, I'm like, I don't know if really any characters from series or shows that I've watched that match this, or at least not well enough. So I was trying to do research with this type of energy I was picking up on, and so that's why I stumbled upon this person. And yeah, so I can't say specifically how I know this person is, except for just with the little research I did before filming this video. But what I do know is that this person in the show has been through a lot, and that they've struggled with addiction, they've struggled with other traumatic events that I don't have to dive into, but they've struggled with a lot of difficulties. And I think it's really interesting because the oracle card I pulled was strength, and I'll get more to that in a bit. But the tarot cards that I pulled for this stack are 7 of Wands in reverse, 5 of Wands in reverse, 3 of Cups upright, 4 of Cups upright, the Chariot in reverse, and the 9 of Coins, or the 9 of Pentacles, in reverse. The main thing that was popping up for me when I was pulling these cards is somebody who's very down on their luck. And I think part of that is self-imposed, but a part of that is also because of upbringing or circumstances. I was going to say circumstantial, I don't know, but circumstances. Just the situations you've been placed in, whether you wanted to be in those situations or not. So I also was hearing when I was pulling these cards that this is the kind of person that, I'm sorry, this could be just where you are at now. Maybe you haven't always been like this, or maybe you relate more to this in the past. But I was hearing that the person who pulled this is likely somebody who gives up or has given up on life, somebody who has no faith in humanity, somebody who does not believe well in others, somebody who just doesn't generally like people, which is interesting because I did pull the 3 of Cups upright. The show centers around these different people who are friends, and from what I was reading, this character actually does not get along well with her family, and she feels her family does not understand her. She doesn't talk to them. She is actually for periods of time mute, and she is more likely to speak, or I guess you could say even be comfortable around her friends. She relies on her friends for, I don't even want to say happiness, because she's really somebody who doesn't really express happiness, but she's somebody who relies on her friends to basically survive. For any sort of emotional connection she has, she relies on her friends that she has. And the people in her friend groups too go through a lot of very difficult life circumstances and situations. And so because of that, I think that makes it so that she connects with these people more. Without her saying it, she feels less alone. I mean, maybe she said it at some point. Again, I haven't seen the series. But she feels that she's not fully alone. And with the Four of Cups, too, that's a very much isolationist card as well. But it also relates to, again, not having faith in humanity and just not liking people in general. But the people she likes or tolerates, she has in her friend group. And especially because they deal with similar or just other types of difficult life circumstances. The Seven of Wands in reverse, too, indicates the whole giving up aspect, where she doesn't believe things will get better, or she just doesn't try to believe in things getting better. She's been through enough in life to understand that maybe life is, she seems very nihilistic, where it's like, I know that she's dealt with addictions and I think maybe an ED as well. So I think she also just gets the pleasures where they come, even if it's in any sort of negative form. Because for her, maybe that's the easiest way to obtain any sort of pleasure. I think I think it references how she engages in what they would call like promiscuous sexual relationships. And she maybe just doesn't engage in behaviors that are very safe. But if that gives her any sort of adrenaline rush and any rush of serotonin or dopamine, then she'll take that, because she's not able to get those happy chemicals released throughout her body from her brain in any other capacity or in any other area. We have the Five of Wands in reverse too, which to me further indicates that she doesn't get along well with people, and also that she kind of just avoids people as well. The Five of Wands traditionally in tarot is about conflict avoidance, so I don't think she 100% avoids conflict, but at the same time, I think she does try to avoid just people in general. So therefore, she does, in a way, inadvertently avoid conflict or try to avoid conflict, because she just doesn't want to deal with people at all. With the Chariot in reverse, that further indicates to me that she's somebody who just kind of gives up on life. Even when I was reading about her, the character in the show, in the series, it talks about how whenever she kind of does try to get help or does try to get better, there's always something else that really knocks her back down, and it just makes it that much harder for her to keep going or to not give up. There's a lot of difficulties that continuously happen, and so it's kind of this thought of, well, even though I'm trying to get better, these really awful things keep happening, so why should I even try? It's very much that vibe. So the Chariot in reverse relates to the giving up aspect, not having any faith in humanity. And I'm trying to think, I feel like I don't get a sense that, I mean, probably some people could argue this, and again, I haven't seen the series, but I don't really get the sense that she doesn't have faith in herself. I think she views other people as the problem and other situations as the problem rather than herself, and that very much could be a big part of it. I think, though, some of you may struggle with having accountability for your own actions as well, just because you may blame or point out, I should say, your past or present circumstances for your past or current behaviors or thought processes. And we have the Nine of Coins or Nine of Pentacles in reverse. And for me, that indicates especially being down in just luck in general. It's also indicative of how she probably hasn't reached any goals that she set for herself. If she has set any, it can also just represent not having goals set out for yourself or not working hard enough to try to achieve those goals. But for her, I feel like it resonates most with not having available resources and not being given opportunities all throughout your life. So you're just not able to really move up in life. It reminds me of, I want to say historically, old times, even though this still happens across the world, but I'm not completely knowledgeable about caste systems that exist in different parts of the world right now, but because they are different for each country, even state, region, city. But it reminds me of how you think about historically, there are kings and queens, and there are people who are just below them, and just below them. You think of the pyramid of the hierarchy, what is it? Yeah, the hierarchy pyramid. And at the bottom are people like peasants and maybe farmers. And somebody like her, I feel like probably has been more in the lower part of the totem pole or pyramid, where, and I think the mistakes she's made or the choices she's made in life also prevent people from seeing her humanity and seeing her as a person that is valuable, or seeing her as somebody who can change, or seeing her as somebody who just offers something positive. So some of you probably really relate to that, where you feel like you're not given the opportunity to really shine, or you're just, if some of you too, it's about not having the money to really shine, because money does talk. I don't like when people say money can't buy happiness. The people who say that, a lot of times, I think, at least in America, a lot of people who say that, I feel like probably haven't been in certain situations where you really need money to be able to do things. We live in a very, at least in America, capitalist society, but I think a lot of places are like that. And so a lot of you may struggle with having not only just lack of generally resources, but money as well. And for her with her addictions and stuff too, I imagine for some of you, if you deal with any health issues medically or mental health wise, it could be hard for you to try and get the treatment that you need and that you deserve. So overall, if I were to tie all of these traits together, I think you relate to this character because you are somebody who is probably very individualistic and likely nihilistic. You are likely somebody who keeps to yourself, who maybe even relates more and connects more with friends and chosen family as opposed to blood-related family. And I think it's hard for you to open up. It's hard for you to find people to connect with. You're somebody who avoids people and generally likely does not enjoy being around people. And you likely could engage in risky behaviors or promiscuous behaviors, or you can engage in activities that bring you happiness but are actually activities that are dangerous, risky, or negative in nature. You could lack resources, and that includes money. And you could be somebody who has just kind of given up on life and doesn't have faith or hope in your life getting better or the whole of humanity getting any better. Okay, so I'm going to go into the guidebook now. I think it's really interesting how it says Heracle's strength, because I think, even though it's really interesting too, because I say that one of the main messages of this stack is that a lot of you have probably given up on life or on your own life or just, the life of human life in general here on planet Earth. But I still think you have lots of strength, and I think a lot of you have this strength but don't realize that you have this strength, because even though maybe you've given up, literally or metaphorically, whatever it is, all areas or some areas of your life, I actually think you're a lot stronger than you give yourself credit for. And I think even having dealt with so many things in your life, even if you don't deal with these situations in the best way, in your opinion, or you still have bad habits related to these bad experiences or bad thoughts, this is indication to spirit that you're stronger than you realize, that you can get yourself out of this rut that you're in, or this mindset, this situation, and that you have power. I think willpower and power. You have the ability to change, and spirit really just doesn't want for you to give up on yourself. But I will read what it says now. And here, number 41, more towards the back. Oh, just past it. Okay, here we are. Heracle's strength. Wait, did I say Hercules? I think I might have said Hercules, but that's okay. That's fine. You know what I meant. But Heracle's. Hercules kind of vibes almost in a way too, but Heracle's. So, strength. Wait, isn't Hercules who? No, that was Achilles for the last one. Okay, sorry. Anyway, Heracle's strength, the myth. Heracles is the son of Zeus and Alcmene, a mortal woman. Jealous Hera drove Heracles mad because causing him to kill his brother's children. To redeem himself, Heracles offered to serve his cousin, the king. The king set Heracles, I think it's supposed to say sent. The king sent Heracles 12, or set Heracles, 12 seemingly impossible tasks to accomplish. Tasks that required great strength, courage, humility, and wit to overcome. Oh. Okay, the tasks were supposed to be his undoing, but Heracles proved himself time and time again, accomplishing every task and acquiring magical items or knowledge with each. Upon completing all 12 tasks, Heracles was free to continue his heroic deeds throughout the land. Heracles eventually married Hebe, the daughter of Zeus and Hera. The labors of Heracles are all about self-mastery, mastery of the wild beasts within, so that a person may use their raw powers in a wise and controlled manner. That's the thing, you have the power and the willpower. A number of Heracles' tasks involved killing or capturing wild animals. One of these animals was the Nemean lion, a creature with skin so thick that it was invulnerable to weapons. Heracles ultimately used the beast's own claws to cut through its skin and was thereby able to defeat it. After this, Heracles always wore the lion's skin as armor. This is what I want to talk about earlier too. Even if you feel you lack resources, I think because of the experiences you've been through and what you've been equipped with in life, you actually have a lot of wit and you do have a lot of intelligence, so you just have to be able to utilize it to get you out of any situations that you're in or any bad habits that you're in. You do have the intelligence and resources within you, even though you may not have much for material or tangible resources or even from other people inside of you. You have to, this is very much a journey of trusting yourself and finding the resources within and the tact. The message. This card is about strength, focus, discipline, and wisdom. With these qualities, we can harness our own raw powers and use it to create what we want in our lives. If you find yourself feeling messy, undisciplined, erratic, or caught in any destructive or addictive activity, and your need for instant gratification outweighs everything else, it is time to get organized and take every necessary action to get your life back on track. This card tells you that it is not enough to act on pure instinct. This is a time for focused strength, self-control, and discipline. This is a time for overriding ego-driven or childlike urges that are often based on a need for pleasure and instant gratification. Yeah, wow, that's what I was talking about earlier. This is a time for establishing your personal power and learning to govern your life from a place within you that is clear and true. Do whatever is necessary now to take back the power in your life. This is a time for great strength. Believe in yourself. There's a lot of powerful wording in there. But I will leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching and listening, 3C. I hope you enjoyed. You can like the video down below if you liked it. You can comment down below if you've seen this series, if you feel you yourself relate to the character or any of the qualities I talked about in this video for your stack. You can subscribe to my channel. It helps me and my channel out a lot. You can check out my other pick a card reading videos. Many of them are timeless, and I will leave it at that. Thank you so much and take care. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this video. If you liked the content, make sure you subscribe, like the video, and comment down below, as it really helps my channel out a lot. You can follow me on my socials listed here on the screen. Thank you and blessed be.